Hello world. I've been drafting for a little while now using AutoCAD and 2D, and I've been drawing custom cabinetry for most of that time. As I've looked around at newer software for cabinetry, they like putting on a good show with 3D cabinetry, and it's nice to look at, but they don't usually show you any dimensions. And when I draw cabinetry, a lot of the time, everyone is very interested in dimensions of the cabinetry. And so, understanding drafting, I make sure to draw those dimensions in manually. And as I've done this for a while, you kind of get the idea that I've drawn this rectangle once before. No, yes, I'm certain I've drawn this rectangle before. I've offset this rectangle, I've closed this polyline, I've manually dimensioned all of this, because the most important thing is that the plan acts as a legal document, and if someone looks at this and they say, I approve this, and we build and install this, everyone knew what they were getting. If I just send you a 3D view of an elevation and you say, wow, that looks great, and I deliver it, and let's say there's a door casing here that I was too close to, or there was some plumbing or electrical that, even though a GC on site had my set of plans, if there's no dimensions, they don't know. They just can't know. So here is a dynamic block of an elevation of a cabinet. I've got the ability through grips to change the overall height, counter height, base height, overall width, and through the properties on the side I can also change those. I've got my defaults of countertop 1.25 inches, base 4 inches, rails and stiles 1.5 inches unless it's against a wall. I make it a little bit wider. So this is one element of making an elevation that I can type in values that will dynamically update, but at the end of the day this is going to be exploded and you will see closed polylines on base layer, face frame layer, countertop layer. These are all just closed polylines in 2D, and all of the dimensions are touching points on this that are relevant, so that if I did want to make a change later on, the dimensions will still be accurate to whatever I stretched it to, because this is custom cabinetry and who knows what you're going to get, and so you got to be prepared for anything, but also dimension it accurately. So with that in mind, I'm going to jump from my starter elevation plan to this is supposed to represent a room where I have a plan view of a room in the middle, and off to each side is the elevation of that room there. And here I have a cabinet in plan view. This is another dynamic block where I could say, I just want a base, I just want an upper, I want a base and an upper, or it is a tall cabinet. And you can see that I've got different line weights, or layers, or line types for the base and upper on the counter. And off to the side here, I've got it spelled out if you wanted to use a match properties to draw in what you want. So this is a dynamic block where I could use grips or type into the properties menu what I want the height, width, and depth to be. Great, fine, whatever. It can be whatever you want. But this is just a 2D CAD object, and depending on your site and where your windows and doors are or whatever, you want to be able to use reference points to set your cabinets to. And yeah, again with 3D demos, yeah, you can type in the width of the cabinet, but I don't know, what if I did a casing here? I don't know, let's say I'm going to pull in this door casing block here. And let's imagine that the rough opening, because you got to go visit a couple of times. So my rough opening is, I don't know, 48 off of that wall, and my door is some number, who knows. This is a rough opening, let's say, or if the casing was in, I could type in the rough or finished casing size. And I got that set to a pocket door. Let's say it's hinged on the right. Yeah, who knows. I've got some other bits in here for different types of casings. You might just use flat. And, because, yeah, who knows? I mean, you start designing this, and all of a sudden the GC says, oh, we could get 1,000 feet of this from whoever, so even though the architect wanted this type of casing, we're going to change it to something else. You want to be able to move with that, and yeah, it's all about versatility, yada yada yada. So yeah, I'm thinking out loud, trying to figure out how to work with this here. Let's change the room width to 150 and the depth to 120. This room block has a base point in the middle, so as I update these, it'll move the room around. But hopefully you started with the room dimensions and didn't just start drawing cabinets in and willy-nilly. So it looks fancy. You don't want to fall into things looking fancy, because you watch demos of people doing stuff in 3D and you say, wow, that looks fancy, but it has no bearing on your life at all. And so you're going to get to a certain point with these where it's gone as far as you can go. I mean, nothing else can get any better. This is really just to get to a point where you have dimensions that are tied to these polylines, and whatever upper depths you have at any end of the cabinetry here. If I type it in, yeah, great, it's easier than stretching polylines and drawing dimensions because you've done it enough to get the t-shirt. I'll get to a point where I explode those, and you may have some ancillary extra annotations here. So yeah, it's easier to erase than it is to add. So yeah, I don't know, let's say that is a thing, and here this can be a countertop cabinet. Undo. This can be a countertop cabinet set back 2 inches, and I'll make sure to just do a match properties, because if I type in CE for cabinet elevations and I pick this room block, it's going to look at polylines of cabinet faces in the plan view and any blocks that I put in that are a door or a window. And it is going to drop in those dynamic blocks that I showed you earlier, where this baseline weight, I picked the counter, this baseline weight is a base cabinet at 36 off the floor, and it's dropping in a dynamic block for a section or elevation here. This is a countertop cabinet as evidenced by the line weights here. Counter cabinet, tall cabinet, upper cabinet, base cabinet. It's going to default to some usual numbers that are probably a good time. 4-inch toe kick or baseboard, 1.25 countertop, and 1.5 rails and stiles, and a 4-inch crown. So this will give you literally what's in the plan view, whether you like it or not. And now is your chance to describe these as it makes sense to. I don't know what your style is. For me, I don't usually double up on dimensions, but if I wanted to take the dimensions of this upper cabinet and stack it next to these side sections, I can do that. And these side sections here, if I turn off those dimensions and pick my frames and turn on those dimensions, I just gotta, right now I gotta manually add it, but yeah, and I got the room height here, and this, that, and you can touch that, and your base is good because I already messed with that. Yeah, yeah, shoot, these are all dynamic blocks. They have dimensions added to them. This is still just plain old 2D AutoCAD, so whatever dimensions I need to add to complete this string, you can do that. I am going to select these blocks and burst them so that they are now just closed polylines on a faced frame layer. And yeah, I guess if I want to show what's going on here, I'd have to explode that casing and trim the casing to the counter. But you know, we're still designing here. This is a perfect opportunity to bring up, should I have these off of the casing? What's the casing profile? Is this going to die into that well? At every step of drafting, we need to problem solve, so we don't need to have the full cabinet with every part drawn right at the get-go. We're just looking at the elevations here. So once I get done modifying my face frame blocks and I explode them, I'm going to jump into a routine that will look at closed polylines on the frame layer and presume that I want to build doors inside of those. And it will ask me for each opening, how many doors do I want to have horizontally and then vertically. So let's say I want 3 horizontally, 2 vertically, and yes, I'll default to the 15-inch top door height. You can be 2 by 2 and make those equal. You can be 2 by 2 with a 15-inch default. You can be 3 by 2 with the 6-inch default for a drawer. And you can be 4 by 2. So I'm outside of that command, and all it's done for me is drawn closed polylines on the C door layer such that they are, I goofed there, I was trying to show off. They are all equal width and they all have a margin that I've defined. At some point it defaults to 3/32, but whatever you want for a margin, you can do that. And same with the height. I've got it defaulting to 6 inches for a base and 15 for an upper, but these are just rectangles, so you can stretch these as your heart sees fit. You don't have anything fancy for a single drawer front over a door, so you may have to modify a couple of drawer fronts to get there. But yeah, this is all rectangles, so it's not a whole lot of sweat if you know how to use AutoCAD. From here, now that I have the perimeters of doors and drawer fronts, I've got a door offset command where if I pick these rectangles in elevation and pick yeah, a couple of points, let's say there's my outside, my inside, little profile there, it is going to ask me, do I want to show joint lines? And yeah, if it's paint grade, yeah, no. So it will give me offsets based on those distances that I just picked just now. And after a certain threshold, it will it'll make smaller rails. It looks like it didn't do it here. I was right on the threshold, but again, these are just polylines that can be stretched. So the door perimeter was on the C door layer. It offset me to the C door layer. It drew me a little joint line on the door joint layer and some light lines in the door light layer, just to indicate in elevation what that profile is gonna look like. And now that I have doors in elevation, I will type in DSW for door swing, and for each door it will light it up in blue and ask me what is the hinge side, and if I pick below these dashed lines it will put a knob sort of on the lower side of the door here if it was an upper cabinet. You can be a drawer front, so I will just hit space for that. Base door, I want you hinged on the left but a handle up towards the top, so yada yada yada. I probably should have picked the upper doors separately from the lower doors, because the way I got this going was just working left to right for any rectangles on the door layer. So it's a little bit obtuse as it takes me literally going left to right here, but yeah, it's still not the end of the world. I can do this while I'm talking, and as I'm clicking to one side or the other, it's adding a door swing on the door swing layer, and it is dropping in a block on the hardware layer, and each one of these is its own block definition by default, and if I wanted to change that block definition I could just copy up some other line work, edit the block, and it will update it for anything that I've got shown in elevation here. So this is good enough for an approval drawing, I think. I've got a plan view showing the widths and depths of the cabinets, and you know, yeah, maybe I need to add a few more dimensions for the casing. And yeah, if I felt crazy enough to edit that dimension, I could write the word casing. Hopefully these are obviously enough the base and upper dimensions, and these are still just polylines, and you can change whatever you want so long as you remember to change it in plan as well as elevation. Yeah, so I'm working with the room compass block here. I made up a little command where if I pick this, these bits of text, northeast, southwest, they're all hyperlinks, so if I control click that, it's going to rotate my whole drawing view to be looking at this elevation, this plan view. So yeah, I don't know, whatever you needed to add, you're aligned in this elevation so you don't need to turn your head sideways. And once I'm done getting the initial groundwork laid out, I can say BU to burst this, and it will unfold each elevation And I might need to do some cleanup here. All just basic CAD objects, so whatever I gotta do to tidy this up and make it presentable on a title block, I can do that. Yeah, maybe I'll leave it like that for now. I can go further with this for production and stuff, but let's just say that this was good enough to be approved as far as design approval. You add some notes here about, oh, I want a trash pull out. This is going to be a dishwasher. This is going to be whatever. A little door offset, door swing. Yeah, these are all rectangles. They're all separated by layer if you wanted to modify one thing or another about them, but they're all easily modifiable enough to just redo. Yeah, shoot. Yeah, maybe I add a couple of dimensions and this is good enough for a design approval. Yeah, it's a little messy. I don't know, but yeah, you get the gist of it. There's enough dimensions here to go by, and with a little bit of updating callouts here for whatever the room number is and whatever the elevation is. You just gotta do a little matchy-matchy. Ooh, got a regen? Oh, you're a bastard. 2D approval drawings in AutoCAD for cabinetry. Yeah, go for it.